Somehow, half the wizarding world exists in people's heads instead of the books. Between movie shortcuts, fanfiction, TikTok facts, and drunken 2 a.m. tweets from J.K. Rowling, entire pieces of canon have been quietly rewritten, and most people don't even realize it. Today, we're breaking down the fake Harry Potter facts everyone still believes, one by one, and setting the record straight. Accio Canon. Like that George Weasley couldn't produce a Patronus after Fred's death. What people believe is that after Fred died, George was so emotionally destroyed that he permanently lost the ability to cast a Patronus. This is known in the wizarding world as PD, or Patronile Dysfunction. The fake fact is that George canonically could never produce one again because he had no happy memories left. That sounds tragic. It also sounds dramatic. It also sounds hella fake because it never happens in the books. A Patronus is not powered by general life satisfaction, but rather by focusing on one specific powerful positive memory. Harry casts one while being actively hunted by Voldemort. He casts one after watching Cedric die. He casts one while reliving trauma. The spell does not require your life to be sunshine and fireworks. It simply requires a strong memory in that moment. George survives the war. 19 years later, he's married to Angelina Johnson and has children. He names his son Fred. That's not someone who has been magically stripped of joy. That's someone who is grieving, but still capable of love, connection, and positive memory. There is no line in the books, no interview, no Wizarding World article saying George lost the ability to cast a Patronus. The idea comes from fans equating grief with magical shutdown. The series never supports that, and in fact, all canon sources point to George still being able to get his Patronus up if he really concentrates. The Marauders map permanently showing mischief managed after Lupin's death. What people believe is that when Remus Lupin died, the Marauders map locked itself and permanently displayed mischief managed as a tribute to the last Marauder. The fake fact is that the map stopped working entirely after Lupin's death. It's poetic. It's symbolic. It's complete poppycock. The Marauders map, much like the 8-bit video games your grandparents used to play, uses a password system. You say,
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
And it activates. You say,
mischief managed.
And it closes. That's the mechanism. There's no emotional clause built into it. In Deathly Hallows, Harry still uses the map during his 7th-year absence to keep track of Ginny and the others at Hogwarts. It functions normally. It doesn't freeze. It doesn't go into mourning mode. It doesn't retire itself. The map is a magical GPS and not a self-aware tribute to its creators. The idea that it cares even the slightest bit about what happens to the Marauders is as absurd as Siri telling you she can't remember the directions to your friend's house because she's too broken up about your pet turtle dying. There is no canon evidence to suggest the map operates any differently post-Lupin than it does normally. Password in, password out. Lucius Malfoy being related to Xenophilius Lovegood. What people believe is that Lucius Malfoy and Xenophilius Lovegood are secretly brothers or closely related, possibly separated by ideology or a mix-up with the stork. The fake fact is that the Malfoy and Lovegood families share a direct blood connection. This one usually comes down to hair. They're both described as having long, pale blonde hair. That's it. That's the evidence. By that logic, I guess Sydney Sweeney is Miss Piggy's illegitimate daughter. There is no canonical family tree linking them. The Malfoys are a documented, pure-blood family. The Lovegoods are not listed as part of that lineage. No book ever hints at estrangement, hidden siblings, or family scandal between Lucius and Xenophilius. And even if they were brothers, that would dramatically affect the story. Lucius is deeply involved with Voldemort's ideology for most of the series. Xenophilius runs a conspiracy magazine and later betrays Harry under pressure to save Luna. That's not a secret Malfoy family subplot. That's a completely separate family with completely separate motivations. Shared hair colors is not a bloodline. If it were, all bald people would be orphans. Look, just because you didn't get it doesn't mean it wasn't a good joke. Anyway, the books never connect Lucius and Xenomorph... Xeno Warrior Princess... Wait, that's not right. Whatever the guy's name is. The idea exists entirely in fan speculation. Neville and Luna got married. Somehow, this one refuses to die. A lot of fans are convinced Neville Longbottom and Luna Lovegood ended up together. The fake fact is that they canonically married after the war. The films absolutely encourage this idea. In Deathly Hallows Part 2, Neville gives Luna a slightly dramatic confession before the battle. It feels like a setup. It looks like a setup. It is not a setup. In the books, Neville marries Hannah Abbott, a Hufflepuff who appears multiple times throughout the series. She later becomes the landlady of the Leaky Cauldron. Luna, on the other hand, marries Rolf Scamander, the grandson of Newt Scamander, not the piano-playing dog from the Muppets. Now that information is one of those little lore nuggets J.K. Rowling randomly pooped out years after the books were written, but it's canon all the same. There was no textual evidence of a romantic relationship between Neville and Luna in the books. They're friends, they're both outsiders, but that's where their compatibility ends. Luna is an eccentric conspiracy theorist who loves weird animals, and Neville, well, Neville's the kind of guy who would marry a Hufflepuff. If you know, you know. They would never make it as a couple, and both are much better off with their respective canon spouses. The Potter's cat was Crookshanks. This theory has been repeated so often that many people treat it as established lore. The fake fact is that the cat seen with James and Lily Potter was actually Crookshanks. The argument usually goes like this. Crookshanks immediately trusted Sirius Black in his animagus form. Crookshanks also recognized Peter Pettigrew. Therefore, Crookshanks must have known them before. Therefore, Crookshanks must have been the Potter's cat. That is an impressive number of logical leaps. Yes, promotional artwork shows baby Harry with a cat that resembles Crookshanks. That artwork is not confirmation of identity. The books never state that the Potters owned Crookshanks specifically. They owned a cat. That is all we are told. Crookshanks is described as unusually intelligent and capable of recognizing when someone is not what they seem. That is a trait of his species. Part Kneazle. Kneazles are known for detecting untrustworthy people. He does not need a prior relationship with Sirius to recognize that Sirius is not a threat. There is no canon confirmation that Crookshanks belonged to James and Lily. It is a popular theory, but it is not a fact. Cho Chang married Dudley Dursley. At first glance, this sounds like a joke. It is not presented as one online. The fake fact is that Cho Chang married Dudley Dursley and had magical children with him after some not-so-magical intercourse. Or at least that's what I would assume. This claim usually relies on two separate pieces of information being stitched together. First, it is stated in the extended canon that Cho eventually married a Muggle. Second, Dudley Dursley is confirmed to have married and had children. His wife is never named. Not that I blame her for staying anonymous. I wouldn't want anyone knowing I was married to Dudley Dursley either. From there, people connect the dots and decide. Same universe, unspecified spouse, must be Cho. And I get it. Their couple name would be Chudley, and that's just a fun word to say. But the pleasant way Chudley rolls off the tongue aside, there is no book passage, interview, or Wizarding World confirmation linking Cho to Dudley. The only confirmed detail is that Cho married a Muggle man. Dudley's wife is never identified, and nothing suggests she is connected to the Wizarding World. The additional claim that they had magical children who attended Hogwarts is even further removed from canon. Dudley's children are mentioned, but there is no indication that they are magical. Two unnamed spouses do not automatically equal the same person. The series never connects Cho and Dudley in any way beyond both knowing Harry existed. Pandora Lovegood was related to the Lestranges or other Death Eaters. Pandora Lovegood has somehow become the most over-assigned relative in the Wizarding World. The fake fact is that she was secretly the sister of Rodolphus Lestrange or Evan Rosier, or connected to various Death Eater families. Here is what we actually know about Pandora Lovegood. She was Luna's mother, she was described as clever and experimental, and she died when one of her magical experiments went wrong. That is the full canon summary. There is no mention of her maiden name in the books. There is no stated family tree. There is no line connecting her to the Lestranges, the Rosiers, or any known Death Eater bloodline. We don't know her social security number, her blood type, or even if she has the gene that makes cilantro taste like soap. We know nothing whatsoever about Pandora. Least of all, who she's related to. The claim appears to originate from fanfiction, and then spread outward as if it were confirmed lore. If Pandora were the sister of Rodolphus Lestrange, that would mean Luna was directly related to one of Voldemort's most loyal followers. That is not a small detail. The books never hint at such a connection. Xenophilius is eccentric and later desperate, but he is not tied to Death Eater ideology through marriage or blood. Pandora's mystery makes her easy to rewrite. Mystery does not equal secret villain ancestry. Mad-Eye Moody was officially sorted into Hufflepuff. This one often sounds authoritative because people claim it's confirmed. The fake fact is that Alistair Mad-Eye Moody was canonically sorted into Hufflepuff. We are never told which Hogwarts house Moody belonged to. Not in the books, not in the interviews, not in official supplementary writing. The confusion likely stems from personality traits. Moody is loyal, hardworking, and fiercely protective, qualities associated with Hufflepuff. But traits are not sorting records. The text never states his house. In fact, misinformation around this became so widespread that search engines and AI summaries began confidently listing Hufflepuff as his official house. That does not make it true. It simply means repetition created false authority. Everyone knows that Hogwarts students can only be Hufflepuffs if they come from the Hufflepuff region of the UK. Everyone else is just a sparkling Ravenclaw. The zoo snake in Philosopher's Stone was Nagini. This theory resurfaces constantly because it feels neatly circular. Kind of like a snake eating its tail. Eh? The fake fact is that the boa constrictor Harry frees at the zoo is actually Nagini. In Philosopher's Stone, Harry speaks Parseltongue to a snake at the zoo. The snake is identified in the book as a boa constrictor from Brazil. It escapes after Harry accidentally removes the glass. That is the full extent of its involvement. Nagini, by contrast, is introduced later as Voldemort's snake. She is eventually revealed to be a Horcrux. In later canon expansions, she is explained as a Maledictus, a human cursed to permanently transform into a snake. Which, given that you just know Voldemort hit that at some point, makes it a little less creepy. Like the teeniest, tiniest bit. J.K. Rowling has directly addressed this theory, stating that the zoo snake was not Nagini. The two are not connected. The timeline does not support it, and neither does the species detail. Nagini is not described as a Brazilian zoo snake that randomly encountered young Harry. The connection exists because both are snakes, and Harry speaks to both. That is the entire foundation. Canon does not link them. Charlie Weasley and Victor Crumb got married. This claim often appears framed as hidden representation that the books supposedly implied. The fake fact is that Charlie Weasley and Victor Crumb canonically married. There is no text anywhere in the series suggesting a romantic relationship between Charlie and Victor. They're both Quidditch players. They both enjoy physically demanding work. That is the overlap. Victor Crumb is explicitly shown expressing romantic interest in Hermione Granger. He also makes comments indicating interest in other girls at Hogwarts. His romantic orientation is presented clearly within the text. Charlie Weasley, on the other hand, is described as working with dragons in Romania and being intensely focused on his career, i.e., most likely hooking up with one of the dragons. He is not shown in a long-term relationship during the books, probably because he's too busy chasing Dragon Tail, but the absence of a confirmed partner does not automatically create one. This pairing largely originates in fanfiction communities. Fan-created relationships are valid creative exercises, but they are not canon unless the books state them, and the books do not. Draco Malfoy cannot cast a Patronus because he has no happy memories. This one is usually presented as if it's an official statement. The fake fact is that Draco Malfoy is incapable of casting a Patronus because his life is too miserable. The truth is, Draco is never seen attempting to cast a Patronus in the books. We have no idea whether he can or cannot produce one. We don't even know what form his Patronus would take. Although, if I had to guess, it would be a weasel or some weasel-adjacent rodent. Draco is just too much like a Weasley little jerk not to have something small and conniving for his Patronus. The assumption comes from Draco's increasingly pressured situation in Half-Blood Prince. He is frightened, conflicted, and under threat from Voldemort. That does not mean there are no positive memories, though. He grew up wealthy, close to his parents, surrounded by status and comfort. Those are positive memories, whether morally admirable or not. The Patronus charm requires a strong positive memory, not moral goodness. It is entirely possible for morally questionable characters to cast one, and there is no canon confirmation that Draco lacks the ability. The claim that J.K. Rowling confirmed it is unsupported. No such confirmation exists in the text or official supplementary material, or anywhere on social media. Draco attended Fred's funeral and was secretly devastated. This one tends to appear in emotional tribute posts. The fake fact is that Draco Malfoy attended Fred Weasley's funeral and was deeply affected by his death. Here's the issue. Draco is a jerky little weasel, and Fred's funeral is never described in the books. The Battle of Hogwarts ends with mourning, yes. We are told that many died. We see characters grieving, but there is no detailed funeral scene for Fred in canon. There's no guest list. There's no passage placing Draco there. Nor would there be. Draco may have ended up kind of being an okay guy, but he was still trying to be a full-fledged Death Eater, right up until the final few battles. It would take a while before anyone on Team Potter would be willing to forgive him, let alone invite him to a private ceremony for grieving one of their closest loved ones. Draco's final scenes in Deathly Hallows show him disarmed, frightened, and later sitting in the Great Hall with his parents. After that, we jump forward 19 years. There is no textual evidence that he attended any Weasley memorial. The idea that he was secretly devastated is entirely speculative. Draco's arc does show hesitation and fear, especially in Half-Blood Prince, but that does not translate into documented grief over Fred. It is a character interpretation layered on top of a non-existent scene. No funeral scene, no attendance confirmation, no canon evidence. Lavender Brown became a werewolf. Because the scene is chaotic, the myth feels plausible. The fake fact is that Lavender Brown survived the Battle of Hogwarts and became a werewolf after being bitten by Fenrir Greyback. In Deathly Hallows, Lavender is attacked by Greyback during the battle. She's described as feebly stirring after the attack. That line has created confusion. I, for one, don't understand how a weak stirring technique equals werewolf, but fans will make theories out of anything. Fenrir Greyback is known for attacking victims even when he is not transformed. Importantly, werewolf transmission typically occurs when the attacker is in full wolf form during a full moon. At the time of the Battle of Hogwarts, there is no indication that it was a full moon. The text does not explicitly state that Lavender becomes a werewolf. It also does not clearly confirm her survival in the original version of the book. Later clarifications from supplementary material indicate that she died from her injuries. Hermione had a sister named Felicity. This one tends to be delivered with surprising confidence. The fake fact is that Hermione Granger has an older sister named Felicity. Hermione is consistently portrayed as an only child. Her parents are both dentists. There is no sibling mentioned in Philosopher's Stone when her background is introduced. There is no sibling referenced when she modifies her parents' memories in Deathly Hallows. When Hermione sends her parents away for safety and erases herself from their memories, there is no mention of protecting a sister. When she discusses family holidays, skiing trips, or her home life, no sibling is present. Either Hermione and her sister had some huge falling out where neither even acknowledges the other's existence, or, the much more likely scenario, Hermione is an only child. The name Felicity originates in fanfiction. It does not appear anywhere in the 7 books. Hermione has 2 parents. That is the full family structure presented in canon. Sirius Black was expelled from Hogwarts in his 6th year. This one usually appears as part of a larger backstory rewrite. The fake fact is that Sirius Black was expelled from Hogwarts in his 6th year for dangerous behavior. There is no passage in any of the 7 books stating that Sirius was expelled. In fact, quite the opposite. In Order of the Phoenix, Sirius speaks about his 7th year at Hogwarts. He mentions that James and Lily began dating in their final year, which places him at school with them through his 7th year. We also know that Sirius inherited money and property from his family after running away at 16, but running away from home is not the same thing as being expelled from school. He continues attending Hogwarts despite being estranged from the Black family. Psh, if I didn't have my parents there to make me go to school, there's no way I would have kept going. What a nerd! The confusion may stem from the Snape's worst memory incident, where Sirius and James publicly humiliate Snape. That event occurred in 5th year. It was reckless and cruel, but it did not lead to expulsion. Lily Luna Potter married Scorpius Malfoy and had 4 children. This claim bends canon characters with post-series imagination. The fake fact is that Harry's daughter, Lily Luna Potter, married Scorpius Malfoy and had 4 children with him. In the epilogue of Deathly Hallows, Lily Luna Potter is shown preparing for her 1st year at Hogwarts. That is the only canonical appearance she has in the original series. In The Cursed Child, which takes place later, Scorpius Malfoy develops a romantic interest in Rose Granger Weasley, Ron and Hermione's daughter. Lily is not part of that romantic storyline. There is no canonical information about Lily's eventual partner, spouse, or children. The claim that she married Scorpius and had 4 children is entirely fabricated. It does not appear in the books, the stage play, or official supplementary material. I can't even imagine what would happen if Lily brought Scorpius home and told her parents they were dating. Hey, Dad, you know that kid who tried to kill you at Hogwarts? I'm dating his son. Hey, Mom, remember the guy who tried to get you killed with that bogus diary your 1st year at Hogwarts? I'm dating his grandson. The only confirmed connection between the Potter and Malfoy children in canon is the tension and evolving friendship between Albus Potter and Scorpius. The Grangers had secret wizard blood through the Black family. This one attempts to solve a problem that does not exist. The fake fact is that Hermione's parents secretly descended from the Black family, meaning Hermione is not truly Muggle-born. Hermione Granger is explicitly identified as Muggle-born throughout the series. Her parents are consistently described as non-magical. They're dentists, for crying out loud. Probably the least magical profession ever, next to accountants. The Black family tree, which appears in Order of the Phoenix, is shown in detail at Grimmauld Place. Hermione's family name does not appear on it. There's no mention of a Granger branch. The idea seems to originate from a misunderstanding of how magical ability works in the series. Muggle-born witches and wizards are canonically born without known magical ancestry in their immediate family. The text never suggests Hermione has hidden pureblood roots. If she did, Dumbledore would have said something when he checked her midichlorians. The claim that this would make her secretly pureblood misunderstands the blood status system entirely. Blood purity in the series is ideological nonsense promoted by supremacists like the Malfoys. The books intentionally show that magical talent does not depend on ancestry. George Weasley ended up with Hermione Granger. This one tends to surface in what should have happened debates. The fake fact is that George Weasley and Hermione Granger eventually become a couple. Canon is very clear about both of their futures. Hermione marries Ron. This relationship is developed across all 7 books, from rivalry and frustration to partnership and affection. George, meanwhile, marries Angelina Johnson. Angelina is a Gryffindor chaser introduced in the early books. She later becomes George's wife, and they have 2 children. There is no textual interaction suggesting romantic interest between Hermione and George. They share scenes as friends within the larger group, but nothing beyond that. Now, technically, that doesn't mean they couldn't have had some secret affair behind their respective spouses' backs, but until J.K. Rowling explicitly says this, the myth of Hermorge Hermione will continue to exist only in fanfiction and discussions of alternate pairings. The books leave no ambiguity on this one. Durmstrang and Beauxbatons were single-gender schools. If you've only watched the films, this one feels completely true. The fake fact is that Durmstrang is an all-boys school and Beauxbatons is an all-girls school. In Goblet of Fire, the film adaptation shows Durmstrang arriving with only boys and Beauxbatons arriving with only girls. That visual choice strongly implies single-gender institutions. The books tell a different story. Durmstrang and Beauxbatons are co-ed, meaning both boys and girls attend each school. The film condensed the students' delegations for dramatic effect, but that does not redefine the institutions. Beauxbatons is also not exclusively French. It accepts students from multiple European countries, including Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, and Belgium. Durmstrang, likewise, draws students from across Northern and Eastern Europe. The movie presentation created the myth. The book canon does not support it. Durmstrang is located in Bulgaria. The fake fact is that Durmstrang is located in Bulgaria because Viktor Krum is Bulgarian. Viktor Krum might play for the Bulgarian national Quidditch team, but that does not mean his school is in Bulgaria. Kind of like how drinking Irish whiskey doesn't make me Irish. It does make me an incredibly belligerent drunk, though, according to my now ex-wife. In Goblet of Fire, Durmstrang is described as being located far to the north of Hogwarts. It is said to be in a very cold region with limited daylight in winter. The school is also described as unplottable, meaning its location is magically concealed from maps. Supplementary information places Durmstrang in northern Europe, likely in Scandinavia. The descriptions of mountains, lakes, and extreme winter conditions align with that geography. Bulgaria, on the other hand, does not fit the described climate or distance. Krum, being Bulgarian, does not anchor the school's physical location. Students can attend schools outside their home country. Durmstrang is a Northern European institution, not a Bulgarian one. Grindelwald was more powerful than Voldemort. The fake fact is that Gellert Grindelwald was canonically more powerful than Lord Voldemort. This idea gained traction after the Fantastic Beasts films expanded Grindelwald's role. You really can't blame fans for thinking Grindelwald was the most powerful wizard alive, given that he was powerful enough to permanently change his appearance from that of Johnny Depp to Mads Mikkelsen without the use of a polyjuice potion. And Grindelwald was undeniably dangerous. He led a large-scale magical revolution in Europe and wielded the Elder Wand for a significant period. However, Voldemort was dangerouser. Wait, that's bad grammar. I meant to say more dangerouser. There, that's better. The books repeatedly refer to Voldemort as the most powerful dark wizard of all time. In Deathly Hallows, Rita Skeeter's biography of Dumbledore makes it clear that Grindelwald's reign was terrifying, but ultimately surpassed by Voldemort's later rise. The text explicitly notes that Grindelwald would miss the top position on the list of most dangerous dark wizards because someone else, Voldemort, came later. There are also key differences in their methods. Grindelwald did not create Horcruxes. Voldemort split his soul multiple times, anchoring himself to life through dark magic. Voldemort's willingness to mutilate his own soul represents a deeper level of magical extremity, not to mention a level of insanity no other wizard even comes close to. Grindelwald possessed the Elder Wand during much of his power. Voldemort did not initially have it and still achieved global terror. The books consistently frame Voldemort as the greater magical threat. Tom Riddle became evil because he was bullied. The simplified version of this claim usually sounds like, he was treated badly at the orphanage, so that's why he turned into Voldemort. The fake fact is that bullying caused Tom Riddle's descent into evil. The film subtly supports this misunderstanding. In Half-Blood Prince, young Tom tells Dumbledore he can make bad things happen to people who are mean to him. That phrasing suggests self-defense. In the book, the wording is different. Tom says he can make bad things happen to people who annoy him. That shift matters. It suggests he harms others not out of survival, but out of control and superiority. Can you blame him, though? Who wouldn't want to toss an Avada Kedavra at the jerk who cuts in front of them at the supermarket? Or the nincompoop driving like a turtle when there are no cops around? Dumbledore later investigates Tom's family history. He learns that Tom's mother used a love potion to trap his father into marriage. When the potion wore off, Tom Riddle Sr. abandoned her, Tom was conceived under magical coercion and born into emotional neglect. However, the books never present bullying as the root cause of Voldemort's evil. Dumbledore explicitly states that many children grow up in unhappy circumstances without becoming dark wizards, hell-bent on genociding every muggle on Earth. Tom displayed cruelty and manipulation from a very young age. His descent is tied to his obsession with power, fear of death, and belief in blood purity, not simply childhood mistreatment. Dumbledore knew Sirius was innocent and sent him to Azkaban anyway. This one reframes Dumbledore as calculating to the extreme. The fake fact is that Dumbledore knew Sirius Black was innocent, but allowed him to be imprisoned so Harry would grow up with the Dursleys. In Prisoner of Azkaban, it is revealed that Peter Pettigrew was the true secret keeper and betrayed the Potters. Sirius was framed. Before that revelation, Dumbledore believed Sirius was guilty. In fact, he testified to the Ministry that Sirius had been the Potter's secret keeper. He did not know that James and Lily had switched the role to Peter at the last moment. The film adaptation contributes to confusion by softening certain dialogue, but the book is clear. Dumbledore did not have secret knowledge of Sirius's innocence. Once he hears Harry and Hermione's account in the Shrieking Shack, he reevaluates the situation and assists in the attempt to save Sirius. That reaction only makes sense if he previously believed Sirius was guilty. There is no textual evidence that Dumbledore knowingly sent an innocent man to Azkaban as part of a long-term plan. He was wrong, not omniscient. Trust me, there are plenty of other things to blame Dumbledore for without accusing him of imprisoning innocent wizards for the lulz. Dumbledore used chocolate frog cards as informants. This theory sounds clever enough that people sometimes repeat it as hidden canon. The fake fact is that Dumbledore used his chocolate frog cards as a secret surveillance network. The logic usually goes like this. Portraits in the wizarding world can move and retain personality traits. They're like a more limited version of Force ghosts. Dumbledore's image appears on chocolate frog cards. Therefore, he could use thousands of cards across the country to spy on people and gather information. It falls apart once you look at how magical portraits actually function. In official supplementary writing, magical portraits are described as requiring training from the subject. A headmaster's portrait, for example, is painted while they are alive. The subject then spends time teaching the portrait their mannerisms and knowledge. That is why Hogwarts headmasters can later advise successors through their portraits. Oh man, I can't believe we were deprived of a scene in the movies where Dumbledore is sitting there teaching his portrait tricks like it's a dog. Chocolate frog cards are mass-produced magical images. They're not individually trained replicas containing full consciousness or intelligence. They move, they speak briefly, and they may wander off frame, but they are not enchanted spy devices with independent agency. That's like when superstitious people act all scared around Ouija boards, despite the fact that they're churned out by the thousands in some board game factory somewhere. If demons are real, I highly doubt they're using some piece of cardboard from Hasbro as a gateway into our world. There is no scene in the books where a card reports back to Dumbledore. There is no indication that he can communicate through them. The theory is entertaining, but canon does not support it. Only basilisk venom or the sword of Gryffindor can destroy a Horcrux. This myth is usually presented as a hard rule. The fake fact is that Horcruxes can only be destroyed by basilisk venom or the sword of Gryffindor. In Deathly Hallows, Hermione explains that a Horcrux must be damaged beyond magical repair in order to be destroyed. That is the actual requirement. Basilisk venom works because it is a substance so destructive that magical repair spells cannot reverse its damage. The Sword of Gryffindor works because it absorbed basilisk venom when Harry stabbed the basilisk in Chamber of Secrets. The sword did not start with that power. It gained it. However, basilisk venom is not the only method. Any convenient plot device will do. Fiendfire, a cursed magical fire, is explicitly shown destroying Ravenclaw's diadem in the Room of Requirement in the book. The film adaptation alters the details, but the book confirms that the diadem is consumed by Fiendfire. The Killing Curse also destroys the fragment of Voldemort's soul inside Harry when Voldemort strikes him in the Forbidden Forest. That is another example of destruction beyond repair. The rule is not venom only. The rule is irreversible magical damage. Harry snapped the Elder Wand and threw it away. If you've only seen the films, this one feels definitive. The fake fact is that Harry breaks the Elder Wand in half and discards it at the end of the story. That scene happens in the film adaptation of Deathly Hallows Part 2. It does not happen in the book. In the novel, Harry uses the Elder Wand to repair his original wand, which had been broken earlier in the story. After that, he returns the Elder Wand to Dumbledore's tomb. His reasoning is strategic. The Elder Wand transfers allegiance when its master is defeated or disarmed. Harry plans to live a normal life. If he dies undefeated, the wand's power will die with him. By placing it back in the tomb, he removes it from circulation while preserving that condition. I wouldn't have left it there personally. What if Dumbledore comes back as a zombie? Now he's a zombie with the most powerful wand in existence? Accio brains. Breaking it dramatically might be cinematic, but burying it is the canon choice. Turns out most facts people argue about were never facts to begin with. Next, let's zoom out beyond Hogwarts and break down every school of magic in Harry Potter explained.